Welcome to AMP. My name's Richard Conway, and this is the platform for age group multisport athletes to showcase their journeys. Welcome along to episode 32 of AMP, and thank you for joining me and listening to this podcast. Much appreciated. So, what's been going on over the last couple of weeks since the last podcast? One amazing story that I come across listening to various podcasts and Instagram was a guy called the Iron Cowboy, who has achieved 101 Ironman distances in 101 days. The guy is from America, and he's called James Lawrence, and he's done 101 consecutive full distance triathlons, which is just phenomenal. And if you want to see a bit more about that, you can follow James Lawrence, Iron Cowboy James, on Instagram. Since the last episode, there's been lots of sport on to watch, which has been great. If you're a sports fan, that is. Euros have started, and as we're recording this, England are into the quarterfinals, having beaten Germany 2-0, which was a great game to watch. And on that same day, I was watching the Tour de France, and Mark Cavendish got his 31st victory of the Tour de France, which is unbelievable. He's I think 4 behind the record now, and to think that about a week before the Tour de France started, he wasn't supposed to be racing. So to actually get there and do that, and with all the problems and issues that he's had over the last few years, people were writing him off and saying he was finished, and he comes back, and gets his win. And not only did he win the stage, he took the green jersey as well. So just a fantastic story. That's what sport's all about. And Wimbledon's also underway, so the amount of sport that's on is it's great. If you're into sport, it's a good time, and it's nice to see the crowds back as well. So here in Lincolnshire, we're very fortunate to have a new open water venue, and it's been created and open and ran by Adam Walker of Oceans Walker fame. He was the first British person to swim the 7 oceans, toughest 7 channel swims. And a few years ago he had a book out, and he was all over social media, and he's got a swimming technique that he's created due to a sore shoulder that he developed. And so I booked on. He was running an open water camp, so I booked onto it, and to see, well, one, what the facilities were like, and also just to see what the stroke was all about. Quite impressed with both the facilities. The facilities and the area that it's in is just stunning, and also the camp that he put on was really informative and a lot of food for thought. And it's one of those where you've got to forget about everything that you know about swimming and start to learn again, which is quite a big ask for, I guess, people who are already competing and swimming. So, but I thought I would give it a go, and I was pleasantly surprised. So, but now the hard work starts by taking what he's taught me and trying to implement it into my swimming, and it's going to be quite a long process, I think. But hopefully it'll be worthwhile, and I'll be a better swimmer at the end of it. But that means that club swimming has come to an end at the moment for me, until I can crack this stroke. and I've just taken myself off and just starting to do the drills and stuff that he's taught me. So, but what a venue! Thank you, Adam, very much for developing this venue for us local to Lincolnshire, because it was it's fantastic, and I would recommend anybody wanting to know what I'm talking about, have a look on Instagram at Ocean Walker and see what he's created, and go along and have the experience, because it's truly a really nice environment. So that was that. I had a bit of a niggle in the back of my knee, so I've not been doing a lot of running. So that means I've been adapting the Athletica AI plan that I'm following, which is great because you can take things out and move things around, and it's pretty cool for that sort of thing. It's just a little ache in the back of my knee, and I'm not sure what I've done, but trying to work through it and work around it as you do. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to do Redcar. I'm going to give it a couple more weeks before I decide. That's the Redcar sprint qualifier at the end of July. So we'll wait and see on that one. And a few bits of news come through from Age Group. Age Group News were the first ones to come out with the new venue for the 21 World Championships, because it was originally World Multisport Championships, that is. It was originally in Almere, and then that got postponed, and they've kept a couple of races, but the sprint and the standard didn't have really a place to go. And now the World Triathlon Organisation have come out and said that it's going to be in Avil, let me get this right, Aviles, Spain, in November. So, but then I got an email this morning from the British Tri, and they've given us an option of whether to go in that race, which is in, like I say, in Spain, or defer to 22, where it's going to be taking part in Australia at Townsville. So that's food for thought. It's nice to have a choice, and I am erring on the side of going to Australia again, just because I'm already in Spain twice at the end of this year, one for a race in Valencia and the other to celebrate my 30th wedding anniversary with Mrs. C. So coming up next, we've got age grouper, ex-army interpreter and now sports physio Claire Warburton. And Claire qualified to race for GB, but as yet, due to the race has been cancelled, she's not been able to wear her coveted GB kit, and she's hoping that that's going to change sooner rather than later. So yeah, we had a great chat, and she's got a great attitude and outlook on life, and she's really excited about getting involved with the GB age group team. So yeah, really, it was really nice to meet Claire and hear her story, from being really, really sporty to not knowing what she wanted to do and joining the army as a school leaver, and then spending 7 years in the army and deciding that was enough, and but using her knowledge and her ability to fund herself through university so she could go and have a career in something that she is really passionate about and loves doing, which is sports physio. And on the way, she ran, biked, and got into duathlons. I forgot about the London Marathon and the Ride Londons that she's done as well. So, yeah, really great interview. Hope you enjoy it, and see you on the other side.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Just ticking along.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out and asking to come on AMP. Much appreciated.
That's all right. Like I said, I haven't actually represented GB yet, but I've just been picked. So, yeah, unfortunately, the Romania race wasn't going ahead, and then they changed Almere.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get to race this year, which is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, that's it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Two races to be cancelled, because I was in both of them as well. And, to be both cancelled. I've got Valencia but I
Okay.
can't see that happening either, to be honest. So
No. I think a lot of things. I think you're pretty safe bet in this country, but anything abroad, you've just got to hedge your bets, and when you book stuff that you can get the money back.
Yeah, I think that's wise. That's a very wise way of doing it, to be honest. So
Yeah.
So how's lockdown been for you? Other than disappointment of not being able to race?
Do you know what? So when it first sort of kicked off last year, I think that sort of kick-started me taking the training a lot more seriously.
Yeah.
I think it was a good way to take my mind off things. And yeah, we've got a little one. She's 4, so she was she'd have been 2 at the start of lockdown last year.
Yeah.
And that was quite tough the first few months because we kept her off nursery and we were both working from home. So I think the training definitely took the edge off that a little bit.
I'm sure it must have been quite difficult for everybody, especially with kids. You know, I mean,
yeah,
my 2 boys are up and gone, so we didn't. Fortunately, we did say often to each other that we're so pleased that they'd gone and they weren't around, because it must have been so hard. Really hard.
That's the thing. I think, you know, parents with kids, got little kids like that we have, we're lucky in the way that we didn't have to teach. I mean, God, how on earth did the parents do homeschooling, especially for sort of 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds? Then they're not as self-sufficient. You know, you have to kind of hold their hands and stuff. Whereas we just had to keep her entertained, and we were really lucky last year because of the weather. We got outside as much as we could and found, you know, we've lived where we live now for coming up 4 years, and we didn't even realise half the things that were around us. So, you've got to take the positives from it, haven't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the only way to look at it and get through it. You know, and I think the more we've gone through it, the more positive you've got to be. And you know, disappointments you just have to. We expect them now. You know, it's
you expect them, and I think there's more to life. I mean, we're all, you know, myself included, we're all guilty of taking either ourselves or whatever we're doing too seriously. But actually, as long as you're healthy, you have your family, and you've got somewhere to live and food on the table, what more do you need?
Absolutely. You're so true. Yeah, and happy as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the key to it. Being happy within the 4 walls and the people that you're around. That's the
yeah.
And, you know, hopefully we are starting, especially in this country, to come out the other side and get back to a little bit of what we call normality.
It does feel that way, doesn't it? I think, you know, we were able to get together with some family at the weekend, and you know, it was nice. We had a nice kind of catch up over a couple of cups of coffee and some cake, which is always good.
Cool. Yeah, that's right. It's the little things, isn't it? You don't realise, you know, before this all happened, you don't realise how much. Well, you wouldn't have realised because we never missed it before, but how much it's mean to you, you know what I mean? When you can't see your kids and you can't see your family, and it's like, so now we don't take it for granted as much, I think, and we appreciate it.
I hope not. I hope not. And I think, you know, things, everyone says, oh, when it goes back to normal, but there isn't a normal now. This is normal. What we're living today is normal. But I hope people don't try to go back to normal. And I think there is a certain portion of society that stayed normal, you know. Didn't listen to any rules whatsoever.
No, I think you're always going to get that, unfortunately, but there we are.
Yeah.
So your background then, let's get into it. What did you do as a child growing up, from a sporting point of view? What was that like?
So I got a younger brother, and my dad's always been pretty sporty. So, you know, there's always sort of, I remember if we'd go on a family picnic, we'd have a football, and we'd have a kick around. At school, I was pretty sporty, and at definitely sort of secondary school, I was in the football club, the basketball club, I I did try netball, but it really wasn't my thing. Hockey, you know, did a bit of athletics. You know, pretty much most lunchtimes I was playing sport. And then probably age 15, I started playing football. And then at 17, I joined the army, which still to this day, I don't really know why. Because I even though I played team sports, I wasn't really that fit come the age of 17, because I discovered when I went to college, I discovered that actually I didn't really enjoy it. Well, I didn't really want to kind of continue any of those sports on other than the playing the football. So I wasn't, by the time I actually joined the army, I really wasn't very fit, which is ridiculous. So yes, I struggled through basic training, got through it, spent 7 years in the army. Certain bits of it I really enjoyed, but I had this phrase whenever I did any PT, strive to survive. So if the PTO wasn't looking, you just stop, and there would be a group of us that would do exactly the same. I wasn't a particularly good recruit, let's put it that way.
Just going back to your football at 15, when you were you in a boys' team then, or was the girls' football?
No, so there wasn't girls, but I was in a women's team.
Right.
So at 15, and to be honest, we didn't play loads and loads of games because there wasn't that many other teams around. So it was one of those things. I loved going to the training. I loved going to the matches, but I was 15. I very rarely got a start. I pretty much come on maybe 20 minutes from the end every week. So it was a long old day for 15, 20 minutes run around, but I loved it.
Yeah. The reason I asked was my son, he played football from when he was 6 up till he was 17. And there was a little girl in his team up until to a certain age. I can't remember when she stopped playing for them, but she was in goal and stuff. And at that point, there wasn't any girls' teams. I mean, I guess it's all changed now, but there was no girls' teams for her sort of thing. So she played in goal for his team and
for the boys' team. No, there definitely wasn't when I was growing up. You know, so it wasn't until I got to sort of 15 that I heard about this team and could go along and join it. It was really funny. One of my school teachers played on the team. So and there was myself and my one of my other friends. We both played on the team, and we always used to get a lift off the school teacher. She was our geography teacher.
That's good though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite funny.
Yeah, cool. So going back to the army then, what did you do in the army? What was your role?
I was in the intelligence corps. I was a linguist.
A linguist?
So I was an Arabic linguist.
Wow.
Which it definitely sounds more exciting than it was.
So how on earth did you get into that?
So when I decided to join the army, it was basically I'd had enough of college. I left college, and my mum and dad were like you've got to get a proper job. You've got to go and find something, you know, do something, you know, as parents do, as I would probably do to my daughter. So I was like, I'll go and join the army, and I'll go, and that means I might get a bit of travel. I can sort of move away from home without it going to costing the earth. So went along to the careers office and you take a test, and I don't know what it's called now, but it was called the BARB test. So it's like a multiple choice test just to see where your skills are. And I was lucky enough that every job was open to me that was open to a woman. So I was like, okay, I'll narrow it down. And I had 3 choices. One of them was linguist, because I enjoyed languages at school. I can't remember what the third one was, but the second one was bomb disposal. And
let me see.
Well, this is the thing. So I'd gone home and I said to my mum and dad, I said, look, this looks really interesting, the bomb disposal. And my mum said, I am not signing those papers. You have to have my permission because you're not 18. You can go and do that. So that was that then.
Brilliant. That's made the choice for you.
Yeah. And to be honest, now at 41, I absolutely agree that would be the right decision. But at 17, you think you're invincible, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
you're good at languages at school. What languages were you able to speak at that point then?
I did German and Spanish. So so I had those languages. And then when you go in as a linguist, you do your basic training as normal, and then you go off and you do your language training. So it took about 2 years. And you learn it to a point where you can listen to it, let's put it that way.
Right.
So I obviously can't say any more than that. But,
yeah. No, it's but what a language do you have to try and learn though?
Yeah, and actually I really enjoy, because you do a little bit of writing and speaking, obviously, because you need certain skills. But so the writing goes right to left. And I actually really enjoyed it, because it's really a really nice language to write.
Right.
Yeah, but that's probably the most I enjoyed out of it, because it's a difficult, really difficult language, and like we've got dialects in this country. If you imagine how large the Middle East is, and you've got multiple dialects within one country, it's quite tough.
Yeah, well, I guess it's almost like Europe, different countries within one mass. Land mass,
Yeah, to an extent. So
wow.
I did that for a bit. As I say, I wasn't the best Arabic linguist out there, so I went and did a different kind of course, and I was a Spanish interpreter. So I think that's probably where my skills still lie. I don't know how much I could tell you in Arabic now, but I could probably rehash the Spanish to an extent. So yeah.
Brilliant. So you're in the army for 7 years, and what made you decide to come out, and what did you do after that?
So I'd had enough. I when I joined, I thought maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years, and at that age, that seems like a long time. And I'd got to sort of 6, just under 6, and I was like, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know where I want to take my career. And I just thought, do you know what? If I don't leave now, I'm not going to be able to leave, because you get a little bit stuck in the military. I think all of the military, actually, because you get to certain points in your career where so if you got to 12 years, you got to half pension. So you would be guaranteed that half pension. So it's almost like, do I stay for 12 years? And technically I would have been left. I would have done my 22 last year. So so I'd be retired now if I'd have stayed in, which in some ways I think, oh blimey, imagine the pension I'd get now. And in other ways I really appreciate leaving when I did. So I was 25 when I left. I put myself through college, and then subsequently university, and I become a physio.
All right. Okay.
So went on a massive tangent. But again, it was all to do with the fact that I loved being active, loved sport, and that's where I sort of saw my passions going. And I did. I absolutely, hand on heart, think I made the right choice. I'm still practicing as a physio, so 12 years down the line. So I think it's it was the right move.
Yeah, and I think it's important, isn't it, that you made that decision, but to do something that you enjoy off the back of that important decision is so important.
Yeah.
And going forward for life in general, just not many people can say that they really enjoy working, can they?
No.
Because you work so much, you work quite long hours and stuff. You really need to enjoy what you're doing, and you
do. And I think it comes down to what you're supposed to do as well, because I think certain people will put themselves in a box and they feel that they have to just earn money, and they would just go through life hating the work, earning their money, blah blah blah. But for me, I've always I always want to be fulfilled in what I do. And if I'm getting up in the morning or struggling to get up in the morning and thinking, oh, I'll go to work, that's not good. That's not right, is it? So, you're the only person that can change that.
That's it. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
physio, you've been in the physio for 12 years. Obviously, we've just said that you like it. So from a sporting point of view then, what did you do sport in the army? And then what did you do?
Again, played football in the army, played for my corps.
Yeah.
I did a few other, any kind of sports that was on offer at kind of unit level. I did as much as I could, but it was predominantly football. Went away on a couple of football tours. So that was probably the main thing that I did. And then when I left the army, I joined the TA, so the reserves.
Okay.
And that meant that certain things I could kind of carry on the football. I went on a few football tours after. And the TA sort of paid my way through university, which was handy.
Yeah, that's very clever though. Got to say, using your skills to fund what you want to do in the future is
it's you just sometimes it's luck, isn't it? You've just got to kind of be in the right place at the right time.
But I think to think about it as well, that to have that thought in the first place, to think I've got these set of skills, and that's good. I like that a lot. So you come out of the army and TA, university. What did you do through university then, sporting wise?
Nothing substantial. Did a little bit of running.
Yeah.
I think I did a couple of half marathons at some point. But no, nothing. Not much. Went to the gym a few times. I was just trying to focus on getting a degree, really. So yeah, I wasn't. I didn't throw myself into anything, and I think I was 26 when I started uni. I just felt like I wouldn't be able to keep up with the youngsters. I think if I was to go back to uni now, I think I would probably give it more of a go now than I did back then.
Well, I can sort of sympathise there, because I went back as a mature student to university as well. So I would have been 24, and even that they were what, 18, 19 year olds.
18, yeah.
And it's like, even though it doesn't seem a big age gap, I had my first son while I was at university, and it's like they all think you're the old man of the class. And so
I used to get called.
Sympathise.
I used to get called Mummy Claire, and it's like, if you look back now, I'm like, it's not a big age gap, really.
It's
not at all.
Is it?
No.
But at the time, it does seem quite big.
Yeah. I mean, when you're in your 20s as well, you do feel like you're mature, but you're not necessarily mature, are you?
Yeah. I mean, I was married with, like I say, my first son, and I still don't feel any different now, and I'm like 53.
No.
So you got into a bit of running then?
Yeah, I hated running all through the army, and when I left the army, you have what's called resettlement leave. So I had about 4 months saved up of this leave, and I'd what had I gone into? So I'd got a place in the Great North Run. So I left in, I think it was about the April or May. So I used that 4 months, did a few things, but just trained. So did a lot of training for the Great North Run. And that year, so that would have been 2005. So that year, my half marathon PB stood until last year.
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't break that PB. Yeah. So I did 2:03 in 2005, and last year I broke it finally. I broke the 2 hour barrier. So it took a long time.
Yeah, but it's the here and now, isn't it? And you've done it. So
yeah.
Yeah. So what was next?
What was next? I think I went back to football for a bit. So that would have taken me up to about 2010, 2011. And then in 2011, I randomly entered the first Ride London, thinking nothing. Oh, actually, 2011, I did the London Marathon. I shouldn't skate over that, even though I didn't
no,
do
absolutely not. How did that go?
I was slow and it wasn't pretty. And
yeah, but the whole experience must have been quite fantastic.
I loved it. Yeah, it was great. It was if there's any marathon, if you want to just do a marathon, it definitely needs to be that one. It's never going to be a fast one because you've got umpteen millions, thousands of people around you, not millions. So yeah, it took me 5 hours and 21, so it was painful.
Yeah,
but at some point I've entered the ballot every year since, and every year since when I've got the rejection magazine or subsequently email, I've been relieved.
I think you and millions of other people though, Clint. You know what I mean? My wife, she entered it, was it 2019? And then it was cancelled in 2020. And then it's been cancelled again and put back. So she's
October,
deferred. Yeah, but she's deferred till next year. But she's already she did a marathon on the day, the second time it was supposed to be run.
Okay, yeah. So the big sort of 40th virtual one.
That's right, yeah. So she did that. So she's not sure whether she wants to actually go and be bothered with the actual marathon itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I think you're right though. I think if you're going to do one, that's the one to do, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how it will look going forward, so that's the problem.
Yeah.
You know, will it have the same atmosphere and people going and support? I hope so.
It would be good
because it's I
mean, if you look at the football that's been going on at the moment, I mean, you know, the crowds and stuff, they're slowly coming back, aren't they? They reckon there's going to be 70 or 80,000 at the next few games.
Do you know what? I find that crazy because there's certain things like, so our daughter's starting school in September and there's like an introductory barbecue. Well, only one of us can go. And I'm like, but I see on television all of those crowds and I'm like, it doesn't really make sense to me.
No sense whatsoever, does it? Absolutely none.
No.
Totally agree. But I think that's the way it's been all the way through, hasn't it? Really, they're just they're just winging it.
They're winging it, and it does seem that there's quite a lot more to do with money than health. But that's a whole other podcast.
Oh yeah, that's not for this podcast.
No.
So your marathon, you ticked that one off. So that was a real big achievement, though. Doing a marathon, because it's not an easy task anyway, is it?
It's not.
Let alone doing the London one. So that got you into running and showed.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think that put me off for a little while, which is why.
I guess it can do that, can't it? Anything long distance, you've got to train and spend so much time doing it. It can have a negative effect sometimes. But then So you got into biking. How did that come about?
So I entered the ballot for the Ride London, and I got a place.
Yeah.
And much to the annoyance of my brother, who was really into road biking then and had entered and didn't get a place, I didn't even have a bike.
Oh.
So and I was like, I can't do it. I've got no bike. And he said, here, he didn't quite hand me, but he said, right, you can have this bike to train on, or at least try before you want to get your own one. So I borrowed his bike. I think I don't even know. I started back in the March, and by the end of April, I'd got my own bike. So I got into it, and I did Ride London in 2012, 2013, and 2014.
Yeah.
Well, when was the first one? 2013. Whenever it was, 13, 14, and 15.
Yeah.
So I did 3 years on the bounce, including the one, I don't know if you see the torrential rain one. There was one where literally it rained like bucket loads the whole time. I think it took about 2 weeks for my bike shoes to dry off. Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, so I loved them. And I got into road biking massively. I'd done a few sort of 100-milers, sportives, and just I'd go out on the weekend for sort of 3-4 hours quite happily, and a few times in the week. And then so that took me up to about 2015. I think I still did a little bit around sort of the start of 2016, and then I fell pregnant with my daughter in 2016, and I did nothing. I always thought if I would be pregnant, I'd be able to do running and exercise and whatever. I just felt awful for 9 months, if I'm honest. So I did nothing, and then it took me till she was about 18 months to actually really feel like I wanted to do anything else. And my youngest brother was doing a duathlon at the Olympic velodrome, the road.
Is that how you found out about duathlons then?
Yeah, so he was doing one, and I was like, do you know what, that sounds all right, because it was like a 2-mile run, 10-mile bike, and a 2-mile run. I thought, do you know what, I can do that, a little bit of training, that'd be fine. And whilst I loved it, I came last by a mile. And the reason I know that I came last by a mile is because the person in front of me finished their lap as I started my last one. And it was a mile lap.
Right. Very clever. Yeah. It doesn't
so
matter, does it?
yeah, so no, do you know what? I could have stopped, and it didn't matter whether I finished or I didn't finish, but I was like, no, I'm going to finish. And that's kind of how I've approached all of my duathlons since, really. You know, you have some tough times, and I've got longer and longer, I think, in terms of distances. And you're always going to go through some sort of, oh my God, why am I doing this moment?
Yeah. Usually before every race.
Before the race, during the race, and sometimes after the next few days.
Yeah, I can relate to that very recently.
Yeah. So I got into it, really, and I don't know how many races I've done now, but I love it. And the latest one I've done, I did Marlow middle distance, so I stepped up a distance, and then in 10.
Was that the first middle distance you've done?
Yeah. But I've got another one. I've got Hever Long in 10 days.
Okay.
So it's a bit a little bit daunting, because the bike elevation at Marlow was about 750 meters, so it wasn't flat. But at Hever, same distance is, or just slightly longer distance is double that, it's 1500. So it's a bit lumpy.
Yeah, a bit lumpy. What's the race distances then for that?
21, I think 21k, 90k, and then 10.5k.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a decent day out.
It's a decent day out, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, well, good luck with that. Good luck.
Thank you.
It's, I always say that the duathlons are harder than triathlons by a country mile.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said that, because there are a lot of triathletes that would argue that point, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and they've never done a duathlon.
Yeah. Double run. Well, they one of my race team ladies calls them dirty duathlons because of the double run.
Yeah, I like that. Dirty duathlons.
Yeah.
So how many? So do you prefer? Obviously, you haven't done the long distance, but do you prefer the longer distances to the shorter ones?
I haven't recently done a shorter one, so I think I can be a little bit more competitive over the longer distance. I'm just, I don't, so far haven't been fast enough, really, on the bike, but mainly on the run, to be as competitive on the Olympics. Sort of standard distance. But I do enjoy those because they're easier to train for, because obviously they're a shorter race. But yeah, I'm just going to see how I get on, really.
Yeah, I think you've got to try. Haven't you? You've got to try and find them all, and then eventually something will tell you that actually you're suited to one more particular than the other. So
I had a bit of breakthrough, a little bit of a breakthrough this week. I did a 10K on Wednesday, 10K race on Wednesday on trails, and managed to knock 2 minutes off my PB on the trails. So I'm knocking on the door of sub 50 now, which is getting there.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
It's all these little things, isn't it? You know, these targets to try and to break through, and it's good to have them, and it's great to break them down into little targets to go for rather than the big
definitely.
goals.
And also, I don't think you're ever too old for a PB. If you train for something specifically, you can get a PB.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but I think it's mental. Like, I mean, I put a post up today saying that, you know, it has been in the past mental for me to be able to push hard enough to actually sort of show what I've been training for. So, you know, I don't know what percentage is mental in, you know, they have done sort of studies and stuff on
90% mental.
Do you reckon? Yeah,
I reckon.
Yeah. It's like that phrase, "Shut up, legs," isn't it? You know, you've just got to keep going. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens in 10 days.
So you said earlier that you've qualified, and obviously haven't been able to race this year. So how did you find out about the age group qualification, and what race did you do to qualify?
So I was one of these that submitted a time last year.
Right.
For this year. So I submitted one from Dorney in February, and I think I was second in my age group. But the previous year I'd done Bedford Autodrome.
Oh, lovely. Was it wet?
Yes. Wet, windy. Yeah. It was the first time I'd used my TT bike. So the second run can only be described as horrific, because I got where was I cramping? I think it was in my quads. I was cramping. So yeah, it was really good. I like that track. But yeah, from what I've heard, it's either wet or windy every single time. So you're never going to get a really blistering pace time, are you?
I did it once, and again, it was absolutely torrential rain, and I thought,
this is the problem. This is the problem. Why are duathlons mostly in the winter?
Because the triathletes used to use them as training sessions.
Just get out on your local routes.
That's what they were used for. Triathletes used to use duathlons because they couldn't swim in the winter, so they thought, what should we do? Let's do a bike run, and that's how it was. Developed.
Right. Okay.
Although in America, where it all first started, I believe it was an actual thing, and it was quite a big thing at one point, where it was sponsored by I think it was Canadian Coors beer. I don't want to plug that.
Oh, okay.
But, and then it phased out. That was back in the 80s at some point. So yeah, but I do think that's why it gets a bit of a, well, not a bad rap, but it's not as up there as
but I think now with like the aquathons and the aqua bikes and I think there is more out there. It's more of a multi-sport community rather than duathlon being the poor relation of the triathletes.
Exactly. No, that's exactly it. That's why we have a multi-sport world championship, because it ticks every box for everybody. Who wants to, because not everybody's the great swimmers. Not everybody likes running. Not everybody likes biking, but all the multi-sport, culture, it ticks all the boxes for everybody, doesn't it? I think it's great to get.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So sadly, like you said, you're not going to be able to wear the GB kit this year. Next year, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, we have, myself and my other half, we've talked about it. We're going to try and get out to Australia.
Yeah,
we've got family over there, so potentially we can kind of combine it and have a little bit of a summer holiday, because it's in August. It's due to be in August, so it might be doable. Yeah. So fingers crossed.
I think this is what we do is, and I've said this before on the podcast, that we try and we decide we look at where the race is going to be, and we decide whether we want to go there for a holiday or not, and try and incorporate them as a holiday. And we went over to the Gold Coast, Queensland, and raced over there at the World Championship finals in 2018. Nice. And we used it as a holiday. We went to Sydney and did various things around, you know, and that's exactly what you can do, isn't it? So
yeah, and that's you know, we really like to do that. So, you know, fingers crossed that we can. So I was a bit gutted about Almere, to be honest with you. That was because I'd kind of written off Romania in my head anyway. But I just don't understand why it wasn't all cancelled rather than it's just slightly rearranged and some events cancelled.
Yeah, I know. They should have just wrote this year off completely, really.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot easier. I mean, British Tri as a whole, they should have just said, right, we're not sending teams.
We're not sending.
That's it. Would have been a lot easier for them and everybody else, I think. Well, there you go. It is what it is. So are you coached at the moment then? Do you have a...
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, so I'm coached by a guy called Dan Collin, who's the founder of Tritech.
Right.
And I've just started coaching myself as well.
Okay.
So I've got a few athletes now that I'm coaching. So nice. It's good. And I've just massively enjoy this whole community. You know, it's supportive and everyone just is kind of happy doing what they're doing. And it's a cliche, but it is a lifestyle, isn't it?
It is. And it's a good lifestyle if you know, it makes you feel better, makes you think about your sleep, what you eat, you know, the whole thing, you know, and people outside of it don't really, they think you're bonkers really, but you know.
Yeah. What are you doing going to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock? Well, my alarm's set for 4 something. What are you doing that for? There's only 4 o'clock in the day.
Yeah, can't get their head around that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, are you part of a club then?
Yeah, Tritech. So,
right.
Basically, Tritech's it's not in one location, so we're almost like an online club. So we've got members. We've got members over in Holland. We've got members up in the north. You know, down on the south coast. So we're not a traditional tri club.
Sure. I think there's a few of those around, isn't there?
I think they're getting more prominent. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it's been quite popular in these COVID times as well for people to join something like that, because you can interact online and you don't necessarily have to be at the same place, venue or whatever.
Well, the reason Dan set it up was because he never sort of liked making or couldn't make some of the tri club sessions, and he wanted that I guess that support and that kind of community to join. So he was like, well, I can't find that, so I'm gonna set it up. It's been great.
I think I've spoke to Dan on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, I think you probably have.
Yeah, I think I follow him on Instagram as well. It seems to took off and be quite successful. So long may that continue.
I think he's getting there. I think, you know, he's got massive visions for the club, and I think he'll achieve them. But unfortunately, he kind of wants them yesterday.
It's not like that. It just takes time.
Got to build it slowly. Yeah.
Long game, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So, what's your favourite race that you've taken part in?
Kind of perversely, I did the Heaver standard distance, which is why I'm doing the long, last September, and I wasn't fast. It was nowhere near a PB time, but I just loved it, and I think it's the setting really. Crazy kind of run on all kinds of different terrain and a little bit on the tarmac, but it's trail running, it's over farmers' fields. It's crazy running race. And then the bike is really hilly, which if you'd have spoke to me 5-6 years ago, I would avoid all hills at all costs. So it's surprising, but it was my favorite race.
Cool. Good. Your favorite bit of kit?
I love my TT bike, but I think the bit of kit I couldn't do without. And then the only reason I say this is because I had to do without it for 2 weeks. Couple of weeks ago was in my watch. Yeah, my Garmin.
Yeah, yeah, they are pretty good. I've just upgraded. I had the original 910, and my wife bought me a new one for my birthday, and it's like, wow.
Oh, nice.
It's a complete game changer, isn't it? What they can do.
Yeah, they're great, and I haven't got the most up to date one or anything, but it does what it does its job. Yeah,
it does, yeah, and more.
yeah.
Yeah. What's your favourite book, blog, or resource?
I read every night, so I couldn't tell you my favourite book because I would say my favourite genre is like a crime thriller. And I listen to a lot of podcasts when I train.
Yeah.
I quite like, I think the one I've listened to, there's a couple I've listened to the most. Wits Up, so that's Women in Triathlon. The Greg Bennett show, it's quite good. I think he's like he interviews loads of different either professionals or like sports doctors and stuff like that. That's quite interesting. Inside Try, I listen to that.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
Have you listened to the most recent one she's done?
Yeah, the DNF one.
Yeah.
Very
I
messaged
honest.
her. I messaged her and said exactly that. That was really honest. And I think we need to, I think we all need to hear more of the more negative types of stuff, because it's not all nothing is, it's not all positive. And I think Instagram is one of those things where you can look and go, oh, they've got such a great life and they're doing so well, and look, I should be doing that. But it's not true. It's the most rose-tinted glasses way of looking at the world, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's sport in general, isn't it? When you see all these successful people, all you ever see is the outcome. You don't see the hours and hours and hours of monotony that they've been through. So, but fair play to Helen. She put it out there, and it was a really heartfelt podcast, I thought.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. That's what I mean. On my Instagram, I try to have quite a lot of honesty on there and reflection, and because I just think that's real life. We're not all. Yes, I'll post on when I got a PB. Of course I will, but it's not all that, and that's a lot of work that goes into that one sort of one thing.
Yeah. I could sort of sympathise with Helen actually, because although I didn't quit, sort of, I got a DNF in my first race back this year at it was the Duathlon up at Croft qualifier, because I got a puncture on the bike. So you can, but you look at it. You could look at it two ways, and I was quite, well, shit happens. That's how it was. And I was walking back, and I thought, well, that's it. That's the way it is. I hadn't had a puncture. I think I'd only had one other one ever, and it was just like my turn, if you like, and it just happened to be on that day. So but everybody seemed to be more disappointed than I was about it, and a bit more upset for me than I actually was. And it's like, just went the next race. That's all you look at now. Move on.
And I think as well, you probably would have processed that almost instantly. Right, there's a puncture. Can I fix it? No, that's it. I'm done. So that's you processing it, and you've had that time walking back to actually process it as well. So
So I did feel for
people just want to see you. People just want to see you do well, and especially with Helen, she's obviously put it out there that she was doing it. She's met people that she's kind of met online and all of that. But if it's not your day, it's not your day. And I think with an iron distance triathlon, you're going to possibly go through that a number of times anyway, aren't you? That feeling. And if you continue to feel that, what's the point? You're not proving anything to finish a race, are you?
Like I said to her, it took so much courage to stop. It really
more
did.
than to carry on. Yeah,
more courage to stop than to carry on. So, but
yeah.
And finally, then, your short-term and your long-term goals.
So I think this last 18 months has kind of made me live in the moment a little bit more. So I don't think I have any particular long-term goals. Short term, obviously, completing this heave along in 10 days. And then I guess slightly longer term, I would like to get to Australia next year. I want to represent GP. I want to have that. You know, I've got the kit. I want to wear it in anger. But yeah, from there, I don't know, and I'm happy with that at the moment. I'm just going to see how things go.
Good, and I love that living in the moment, because you know, I think if we could do that more, and it's something I'm conscious about, if we can do that more, I think we're more happy in that place, instead of about thinking about the past and the future. If we can actually live and appreciate what we've got, it's brilliant.
Yeah. Because I mean, I do give good advice, don't necessarily follow it myself, but I often say to people that if you're looking too far ahead, you're not actually looking at what's around you now. So you're not seeing what you've got. So you need to appreciate what you've got right now, because it could all be taken away.
Yeah, it's true. Who knows?
So yeah, live for the moment.
And that's a fantastic place to stop. Thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been lovely to chat to you.
Yeah, and you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Claire, for coming on and telling us your story. Great journey you've had so far, and I'm sure you're going to have lots and lots more adventures, and sooner rather than later you'll get to wear that GB kit in earnest and do it proud. I know you will. So good luck, and good luck with the race that you've got coming up in a few days' time. And now on to another feature. This is a new idea that I've come up with after listening to lots of podcasts and reading lots of books over the last few years. I thought it might be an idea for a new feature to start revealing some of the life hacks that I've put in place. Each episode I'm going to introduce something that I do on a daily basis to try and improve my lifestyle. This first one is apple cider vinegar with mother. And I take apple cider vinegar with mother every day, and it's literally 2 tablespoons, and for me I'll put it in a glass of water. Mrs. C, she puts hers on salads and stuff like that. And apple cider vinegar has lots of benefits. The main one, it supposedly aids weight loss, but the main benefit for me, after having a heart attack 7 years ago, it helps with cholesterol and also diabetes. So, but you must get the organic cider vinegar with mother, and mother basically is the cloudy stuff that's in it, and it's full of good bacteria, strands of protein in there, and good enzymes which are beneficial. Cider historically has been used for centuries, and if you want to know more about it, there's loads on the interweb, but one podcast that I would really recommend is done by Dr. Michael Greger, and he's wrote lots of different books: How Not to Die, How Not to Diet, and he also has a podcast, Nutritional Org, and he also has a website of the same name, and he's on Instagram. So have a look at his stuff. He's really, really good. He basically gets all this information that's been tested out there, nutritionally based, and basically cuts the wheat from the chaff, and tells us how it is and what are the best things to look for your lifestyle. And he's got his own podcast, and one of the podcasts on there, he's talking about cider vinegar and vinegar in general. So give him a listen. That particular episode was called The Sour Power of Vinegar, and it was around about the 25th of March. So yeah, well worth a listen, and that's why I use apple cider vinegar. Right, that's the end of this episode. Thanks once again for listening. And if you want to get in touch, you can drop us an email at agegroupmultisportpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at amp_1967, Facebook at ampgb, Twitter at Agegroup Multisport Podcast, and YouTube at ampgb. And if there's anybody you think would be good on the show, who is a competitive age grouper in multisport, tell them to drop us a line, and we'll set something up, as we're always looking for new guests. So until the next episode, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.